right, we're going to look at angle relationships today. There's a bunch of different types of relationships we're going to look at. And there is a big section of vocabulary, but it's not too much. It's not going to be too bad. So let's go through these words. And some of these words, if we dissect them and kind of take these phrases apart, they're things you guys already know. So let's start with the first one. So the first one says transversal. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. It's called a transversal. In the diagram, 8 angles are formed. So the transversal, that's this line right here. All it does is cut through these two parallel lines. Next, interior angles are angles that lie inside the lines. So angles 3, 4, 5, and 6. So do you see how 3, 4, 5, and 6 are inside? Which means the ones on the outside, those are your exterior. Exterior is outside, interior is inside. If you've ever gone with your parents to buy paint, they might ask, is this going to be interior paint or exterior paint? So are you painting the inside of your house or the outside? Interior is inside, exterior is outside. And then we have alternate interior and alternate exterior. So for example, alternate interior might be angle 4 and angle 6. And if you're confused about that M, that just stands for measure of the angle. So the measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 6. The measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 6. And then alternate exterior, the angle of measure 1, the measure of angles is equal to the measure of angle 7. So the measure of angle 1 right here would be the same as angle 7. And then corresponding angles are those angles that are in the same position on the two lines in relation to the transversal. So the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 5 are going to be the same. So the measure of angle 1 and angle 5 are the same. And that's because they are, because of this transversal. So it's saying that this line is the same as this line. It's just, and it's cutting through here. So that angle is going to be the same because it's like a railroad track. If you cut a railroad track, if you put a line through it, the angles are still going to stay the same. So like this 2 would be the same as the 6. The 7 would be the same as the 3. The 4 would be the same as the 8, and so on. Okay, so let's move on. So special notation is used to indicate perpendicular and parallel lines. So a red right angle symbol indicates that lines M and N are perpendicular. So that it just means that they make a perfect, like a T, perpendicular. They make a right angle. And then these red arrowheads indicate that lines P and Q are parallel. So these are parallel lines right here, if it has those little angle markers. Okay. So just remember that a right angle, it always has this little box right here. And that's a 90-degree angle. So that we just measure the degrees. What is the space from here to here? It's 90 degrees. And the space from here, so we're measuring the space from here to here, that's 90. And then the space from here to here, that's why I put that little blue mark there. That's a 180, because 90 plus 90 is a 180. So if I had a number line here, so this is a 180 because this would be a 90, and this would be a 90, and a 90, and a 90 is a 180. So that's where that 180 comes from. So determining missing angles. You can use informal arguments to establish facts about angles created when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal. If you know the measure of one of the angles, you can determine the measures of all of the angles. Suppose that the measure of angle 1 is 50 degrees. So right here. So they're saying, suppose that this one is 50 degrees. You can use that to find the measures of angles 2, 3, and 4. So the angle here, this 50 degrees, it's going to be the same here. These are vertical angles, are across from each other. So that's also 50. And because this line, remember that the line is a 180. So if this is 50 and the whole thing is 180, if I want to figure out, well, what is this piece here? If this is 50, but I want to figure out, well, what is this piece over here? All I have to do is subtract the 180 and the 50. and that'll give me 130, I believe. And that would be this piece here. And that's what it says here. Measure of angle 2 is 130 because angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. The measure of angle 3 is 50 degrees because angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. All right, let's move on. So what is a transversal line? It's a line that cuts, it just really cuts through lines, but I put parallel lines. So that's your transversal, just cuts through. Just a fancy word for a line that cuts through other lines. All right, so let's try these together. So it says refer to the figure at the right. Line S is parallel to line T. Measure 2 is 110 and measure 11 is 137 degrees. Determine each given angle measure and justify your answer. So if measure of angle 11, the measure of angle 11 is 137 degrees. Let me go to that angle. So where is 11? Here it is right here. So if this one is 137, then angle 9 is also 137 because these are vertical to each other. They're the same. So this one is also 137 degrees. And then if the measure of angle 11 is 137 degrees, then the angle 10 is what? So that one I'm going to have to subtract because that's on the line. This is the straight line here. I'm looking at this part right here. So I know the full thing is 180. This part is 137. So I got to figure out, well, what is this piece right here? Right here. What is that? So if this one plus the 137 equals 180, so 180 minus the 137 is 43. Okay, so go ahead and plug those two answers in. And then you're going to, sorry, I didn't specify. So this one, you're going to type in 137. And then the second one, you're going to type in the 43. So y'all go ahead and try these. Pause your video and then resume. All right, so now we're going to look at the triangle sum theorem, the interior angles. So we're just, for this theorem, this states that the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So all that means is if you add up your three angles, you're going to get 180 degrees. So if I add for example, if I was to add the 55, so this 55 here, and this 80, and this 40, if I add those up, I should get 180. So you can check it in your calculator. So now let's practice a few of these. So let's try this one. It says determine the value of x in the triangle. So if I know all together they have to equal 180, all I'm going to do is start with 180 and subtract out the 78 and then subtract out the 51. So 180 minus, and you can do it all at once as well. So if I do my 180 and I subtract 78, I get 102. And then I'm going to subtract my 51. And that gives me 51 as well. So my answer for this one is 51. What did I do? I did my 180. That looks funny. Let me fix it. 180 minus 78 minus 51 equals 51. Now let's try this one. What is the value of x in the doghouse shown? And actually, the numbers are kind of hard to see. They're an 86 and a 47. They're right here. 86 and a 47. What is the value of x in the doghouse? So again, I'm going to start with my total 180. Oops, fix that. Start with my 180. And I'm going to subtract the 86 and the 47. So if I take 180 and I subtract those, I I get 47 again. And it doesn't always work like that it's going to be the same. And actually, I'm going to go back and check number 1. And the way I'm going to check it is I'm going to add my 2 angles. So I'm going to add my 2 angles, or all 3 of my angles. So I said that this one was 51 here, right here. So I can add these up. 78 plus 51 plus 51. And I'm going to see, do I get 180? Because I don't remember them both being the same. Let me see, 78 plus 51 plus 51. Oh, I guess it is 180. So, and why did I type 52? It should have been 51. Good thing I went back to check. So that's a very good practice you can do as well. Go back and check and make sure your stuff really does equal. So does my 86 plus my 47 plus my 47 really equal 180? Let me check. So what am I checking? Does my 86, so this is this angle right here, 86, 47. And then I said that this one was 47. Does it really equal 180? So add it up. And yes, I get 180 again. My answer is not 180. It's what is this missing spot? It's a 47. So now you pause your video, work on your 4 problems, and then you can resume when you're ready. All right, the last section. So the exterior angles of a triangle. The measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of its 2 remote interior angles. Fancy way of saying that this one is equal to this opposite one plus this opposite one, not the one it's touching. So if you add this angle and this angle, you're going to get this angle. So just like here's the 120 right here. If you add the 80 and the 40, you get the 120. So let's try this one. If I add, so I'm trying to figure out what is x. So I can add my 21 and my 34. Excuse me. 21 plus 34 is 55. So that this little angle out here is 55. And now I can try number 2. Number 2 says, so notice how this time they did not give me the 2 angles inside. So I'm trying to figure out, well, what is this angle? I know this one and I know this one. So if I add these 2 together, I should get 140. But since I don't have anything here, I'm going to do the inverse and I'm going to subtract 140 minus 45. And that gives me, I believe it's 95. 95. So then this missing angle here is 95. And then just go back and double check. Is 95 plus 45 really 140? Yes. Okay. So notice what I did. I typed 140. And this is a common mistake. Students will write one of the numbers, write their check. But that's what I started with. And I was trying to find out what is this. And this is what I should have written down. So be very careful. That's a common mistake students make. What did I do? All right, so now you do the independent practice. If you have questions, make sure you ask myself or Ms. Hess and we can help you out. And make sure you get in your 30 minutes of Freckle for the week.